we all have enough moments in life to where we can easily slide into that place of, oh, I suck, this is horrible, it all happened to me. But the reality is if you stay in that place, the funky place, the longer you stay there, the longer you stay there.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit. Oh my goodness, you are lucky that I even just hit the record button right now, because I could have talked to this guy all day long, and you guys are going to get so inspired by him. Anthony Trucks is our guest this week. He is a former NFL player turned transformation identity shift coach. And I know that there are so many of our audience out there right now that are looking for that shift, they're looking for that change, and they're working on their own transformation. So he says that your failure or your success is determined by your identity. And I can't wait to dive into this. And Anthony also has an incredible story. And we know on It Takes Grit, it's about the grit that it takes to get to where you want to be in life. So first of all, Anthony, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And I have to say, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see his epic podcast studio. So if you just want to go and see what the coolest podcast studio looks like, head on over to YouTube. And it really is unbelievable, totally inspired. So let's kick this off, Anthony. Tell us, give us 10, 15 minutes of like your story, like who you are, like how you got to this place, because it really is incredible. As I was listening and reading your bio, like how did this all start and how did you get to be this incredible coach today?
It's accidentally, right? It all starts like this. First off, it begins with you just doing life, and then life kicks your butt, and then you figure out, you're like, I could solve this, and then you solve for yourself, and then after you solve for yourself, you realize, man, I could actually get a greater joy inside if I could help other people solve this also. So for me, it started at 3 years old when my mom gave me and my 3 siblings away into foster care. So she's like, I don't love my kids, and so she kicked us off to a very heinous system that starved us and beat us and tortured us in different ways, right? We were in different homes, different places, but I was put in chicken coops and forced to chase chickens to earn meals. I was, put in shopping carts and pushed down hills towards moving traffic. I was forced to lick the bottom of people's shoes, like really odd, weird stuff. And this is all between 3 and 6 years old. And then at 6 years old, I end up in this house, which is my current family still. The dynamic is I'm a Black man in an all white, very poor family. So it was outcast upon outcast, right? So I was always in trouble at school. I never really knew like where stability was at home. I had no idea for sure if I get to stay in this place. And so for me, life started in turmoil. It was just a tornado of just experiences. And then at 14, after 11 years in the system, the family finally adopted me, was able to. So I got adopted and I started a whole kind of new journey towards trying to find myself again. Who am I? Where do I fit? What's my strengths? And so I wanted to try something new which is not, uncommon. You always want to try something new. The problem is we're excited about this thing and we go try it and we go, oh, I suck at this thing. Like I'm not very good. And so I started that, but it was football for me. So tried football. I was horrible at it because you start out kind of being trashy at something. And then what we typically do is we go, ooh, I don't like the emotional pain that this brings. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find a way to avoid that pain. So we usually give up on the dream. We chalk the idea. We make a good excuse to go to sleep at night, but we give up on it. So I did that at 15 after 2 years of horrible football play. And I had a moment of like, no, I got to find a way to be great. I got to find a way to come out of this hole. And it was just a moment of some girl saying something that unsettled me and me making a commitment to be great. And I started leaning in to do the work it took to be great before I knew I would be great, which is what not a lot of us do. We'll do the things if we know for sure, but it's like, you're never going to know for sure. But you got to do what it takes to be great anyways. So I leaned in, I did these things. And then lo and behold, after a couple of years, I became this standout football player. I got a scholarship to play football at the University of Oregon. My high school sweetheart and I went up there, had a kid at 19, 20 years old, met my real dad at 20 years old at the start of my first game when I met him, which was pretty cool. Fast forward a few years of just the turmoil of up and down and being a college student, but also a dad. We eventually got a chance to play in the NFL. Great blessing. NFL stands for not for long, unfortunately. So you get in, you get hurt, you get out. And in my 3rd year playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, played in a game where a guy jumped on my shoulder, tore my shoulder, ended the season, eventually ended the career. And then I came home and I had what I think we all have. And sometimes we don't understand what's going on in the moment. Most of us don't. And then it lingers far too long after. But I had a massive identity crisis. Because whenever you're doing something that you've given your heart to, your all to, and you wake up one day, whether by choice or by chance, and you can no longer do that thing, you're kind of dealt this blow that puts a hole in your heart of like, well, who am I without this thing? I can't even feel like I don't get confidence from doing whatever it used to be. So we start finding ways to fill the hole. Viktor Frankl calls it the existential vacuum. So you put the wrong things and wrong people and whatever may be in your body. And next thing you know, you don't like how you look. You don't like how you feel. It's just this vicious cycle. And so I came home when football was gone, had this hole, and I'm trying to find a way to fill the hole. So I, filled it with like starting a new business, and I would eat poorly and I would get out of shape. And then at one point I'm divorced. I'm a bad father to 3 kids. We had 2 more. My gym business is not doing the greatest. I feel horrible. I'm suicidal at one point. I'm like, this sucks. Right. And then after about, I could say 3 years of being what I call a fog, that space where you're operating, but you're not getting anything done. You're just surviving. I was in that fog, and my mom passed away after a 17-year battle with multiple sclerosis. And it was a really wide awakening of like, this is not the life I'm supposed to be living. It's not the trajectory I need to be on, because the woman that she was allowed me to beat the odds and statistics of being a foster kid and not being in jail, not being homeless, graduating college, which doesn't happen for us almost at all. That I was like, man, this woman lived her life in a way, and I'm squandering that. I'm not doing what I should be doing. And so I decided like, I'm gonna make some changes. Here's the crazy thing though. You say you're gonna make changes, but you don't, right? I was like, I'm gonna make some change. I'm gonna change my life. And then I found myself after a year and a half still not doing anything different, because we're kind of tuned to go do what feels most comfortable, most normal. So I went back to doing the same things, assuming one day I'm going to wake up out of it. And it wasn't that. I remember the really big change happened when I woke up on, was it New Year's Day on 2016? And I looked in the mirror and I go, I hate this guy. Like, he's not a good human. He's not a good dad. Nobody should, be with a man like this. No one should emulate a man like this for my boys or my daughter. Right. My mom wouldn't approve. My God wouldn't let me into heaven being this man. And so that was the moment of like this overwhelming guilt and shame. I was like, I got to change something. Something has to be adjusted. And that's where I went down this path of not just shifting the way I did things, but I shifted who I saw myself to be. Because all of us, and myself included at that time, we know what to do. We know what to do. We know what to say, what to do, where to be, where not to be, what to read, what not to read. We know it, but we just don't do it. And we keep doing the same thing, creating the same guilt, the same problem, the same pain, day in, day out. And then the difference is we look at it and go, well, the things I have to do, that's not who I am to do that. Now, that's not who I don't do those things. And it's like, well, no, if you want to have that, you kind of have to do that. And it's going to feel awkward at first. And for me, it did. The things I had to say, to do, to apologize to show up differently was incredibly awkward. But the doing of it changed my life. The shifting of who I saw myself to be at my core changed the actions that I took. And the actions that I took changed my life, right? It's a trajectory. It's a progression. And in doing so, after 3 years divorce, I remarried my ex-wife. We have an amazing marriage now. My kids have a present father. I get to speak on stages and share the concept of identity, because that's what changed my life. I get to make good on being the man my mom raised. And a lot of it all comes down to those moments of like, well, who is Anthony, and who does Anthony need to become so he can do the things that allows him to have the life he wants to have?
That's beautiful. I love the fact that you use the word trajectory. Like Rory Vaden, our mutual friend, uses that word. It's like, it's not the potential, it's the trajectory. Because we always look at people's potential, right? But where are they actually going right now? Like, what are they doing? In terms of that moment where you did actually make the shift, because like you said, you're like, yeah, now I'm going to work out. I'm going to start eating healthy on Monday. No, I'm going to do it on the first of the year. What was the final straw that was like, okay, I have to change? Like, I need to change myself. Like, was that a light bulb moment? Was it something you read? Like, why was that?
Well, it was literally that mirror, that moment standing in the mirror in the new year. Because when all of it's there in the background, we do a lot of good things of distracting ourselves, right? So we'll feel that and we'll distract ourselves. We don't do good by ourselves. So we don't like to be alone too often. We'll be with people, go out, hang out, party, eat food. We'll do it all day long. We want to have that hole be filled by distraction. So I don't have to actually be alone with me. And so when I woke up, I looked at myself, I was like, this is a guy that I don't want to hang out with, yet he's always with me, right? So I kind of got to figure something out. And it was just an overwhelming wave of this shame and guilt for who I'd become. And I knew in that moment, I was like, well, if I keep doing this same thing, whatever it is I'm doing, where this street is ending is not a place I want to arrive at. Where if I keep down this path, this is not a place that I actually would desire to end up. And so that was a big thing of like, well, how do I change and shift that? And that's where I was like, okay, well, in order to get to a new street, I got to actually physically adjust the things I'm doing. And that wasn't just trying new things, but it was like, if I'm going to do those things, it's going to be difficult. It's going to feel out of character. And I think that's one of the things that out of character that most people avoid. They go, well, I don't want to be out of character. That's bad to do out of character things. But the question is really, is it? Because out of character is also the habit you have of eating healthy. It's out of character when you've been eating trash all your life. It's out of character to start working out if you've never worked out. It's out of character to start doing work on yourself when you've never done it before, right? So out of character is actually good. And that was the moment where the weight of being this same person, even a year from now, was so heavy that I had to avoid that. And so in that moment, I was like, I can't keep going down this path. So let me try little things to start shifting the small directions, because change and shift are different. Change is heavy. Change is this word like, oh, I got to change these things. Whereas a shift, like you can change 1 degree on a trajectory of a shift and end up miles off if you're taking a flight somewhere across the country. 40 miles, in fact, from San Francisco, California to Orlando. You go 1 degree, you'll go to Lakeland, Florida, 40 miles south. 1 degree shift. So at that point, I was like, I just got to shift a couple things. And so I did. I would do things where I wouldn't hang out with people as much. I cut people off. I was like, I don't need to be with this person. I would spend more time by myself. In the beginning, I didn't like to be alone, because when you're alone, you're not really alone. And the person you're alone with, if you don't like, it's a problem. So I had to figure out, well, why don't I like this guy? And I found that ends up being a respect thing. If I don't respect people, I don't have a love for these people, I don't hang out with them very often. But if I can get to a point of actually respecting this person, it leads to love. It leads to me wanting to be around them. So part of that was like, I had to find a way to love Anthony again, because the things he was doing, I didn't respect, and it led to a bad place. It's like those little nuances, those shifts of how I showed up for myself and other people, those led me down a pathway. So it's like, it wasn't an immediate shift. It was a decision. Just like I had a decision when I was a kid to be great, I had to make a decision of like, I got to get back on track. And then what it turned into is me just looking at it every day going, is this thing I'm about to do going to make the next moments of my life better? And if it wasn't, I didn't do it. If it was, I would, even if it was incredibly hard or embarrassing or difficult, because I knew that the sacrifice of this feeling was going to end up in a positive return.
I love the word shift because it makes it feel light and fluffy. Change is like
heavy,
like it's like heavy, but like shift is like, oh, just it feels small, like it feels like minute. My mind starts to think about a lot of people with their identity, they stay in a victim mentality because it gives them significance. It makes them feel good. And I like how you said that actually me doing something, it was out of character, which is good. How do you get out of that negative victim mentality that so often becomes your identity because you don't know how else to be? And it also gives you a significance because people are giving you attention. How do you shift from making that, you know, my identity is, oh, you know, this is just who I am. I am just negative. I'm just a negative person, to shifting it to being an inspirational speaker like you are?
Yeah. Well, I think we all have the opportunity to do it. We all have enough moments in life to where we can easily slide into that place of, oh, I suck. This is horrible. It all happened to me. But the reality is and if you stay in that place, the funky place, the longer you stay there, the longer you stay there. So it's got to be this acceptance of like, I don't want to be here. It's the first part of it. I just don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to go in this direction. I don't want to be feeling this way. And then now that you've had that, like, I don't want to feel this way, the next thing is to go, okay, what action will change this? Because I believe that action ends suffering. No matter what it is, what capacity, there will be an action that you take that ends that suffering you feel. The problem is most of us don't want to take it. We're afraid to take it. We don't know, if it's the right one to take. And so I think what it boils down to is you have to step in and go, I got to take this action, because if I don't, I stay here. I lock into this. This is who I become. And the identity to become somebody new is going to come from that feeling of like, this is what that person would do. Because I actually ask people this question. I tell them to ask themselves more often. If we think about the thing that I want most, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's money, a lighter body, less fat, whatever it may be. There's a person that's already living that existence. They already have that thing. They are that thing. And our life is a collection of different choices and actions we take that are usually stemming from our identity, who we see ourselves to be. Even unconsciously, it happens very It's everyday unconscious actions. But here's the question I go like, okay, the person who has that thing, what would they do right now? Not what would the best self of me do? Not what do I want to do? What would the person who has that do? So what would the person who has an amazing marriage do in the argument right now? What would the person who has a great body that I want to have, what would they do right now? Would they eat this? Would they go find a different meal? Right? Would they go to bed now? Would they get up early? What would they do? Because the idea is the more you do the things that person does, the more you build the sense of that's who I am. It's always going to be an action thing, and it takes time. And then eventually, if it does it right, you kind of create this feeling. But that suffering of that's not who I am. I don't have that. I don't feel that way. That suffering's only going to end with the right actions, and you have to know what those are. And to be honest, it's not that hard to figure out what they are. It's in the moments of life you go, okay, this is what's going on right now. What would the person's everything I want do in this moment right now? Or even better, this is even different one, but it's a very similar line is, if my hero was to follow me around for a day, what would they say? Because you and I both know there's certain things that we look up to for people and go, man, I'd love to be like that person. And then if they walked around in my life, would they commend me or would they condemn me? And whatever one you think it'll be, now it's your time to go back and go, okay, if they wouldn't commend me, what shifts do I have to take action-wise in the moments to start aligning more with that?
So true. You're reminding me of like going through my personal development journey. You know, at the beginning, I would just be like, what would my mentor do? What would she do? Like, what would she do? What would she think? How would she act? How would she react? Like, would she behave like this? And I just kept thinking, like, what would Emiko do? Like, what would she do? And it would train me to just act and behave like her. We all make mistakes, right? We all beat ourselves up. Even the other day, like I kind of felt like I messed up on something, I fucked up on something, and I got mad at myself, right? But now I'm better at responding to things. It used to take me days to get over something. Now it just takes me minutes. But what's it like for you? Do you, when you feel like you kind of go back to that old identity, like, do you give yourself grace? Do you, like, how do you not beat yourself up? I think that's something that's unanimous with a lot of people, right? We start to make these changes, and then all of a sudden, like, we mess up on one thing and it's like the end of the world. Like, tell us about experiences from you where you've thought like you're getting somewhere and then you kind of feel like you've messed up.
Yeah, I've done that in my marriage. We were divorcing, got back together, right? I've done it in parenting. I've done that in business. You start like, I got progress, and like, oh man, I forgot that. That's going to be a bill I got to pay. Like, little nuances. The reality of what I've looked at is I've tried to separate myself from the comparison of the outcome. Because if I'm comparing myself to the outcome of this action, then every day I can sit back and feel crappy that I have not reached that outcome. It's like weight loss. If you got up every day and said, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds, and every day you go, haven't lost 20 pounds, haven't lost 20 pounds. Yeah, but you lost a pound, then 2 more pounds, and then 3 pounds, and then 4 pounds, right? So when it comes to your day, what I like to look at is how can I identify with the efforts, not just the outcome? Because what happens is if I give the effort, eventually I'll get the desired outcome. But if I give the effort and I commend myself on that, well, then even if I gave the effort and it didn't get me the next direction or it didn't align with the outcome, I still can feel good about myself. And that energy, that emotional fuel is a very critical part of our drive. If I don't feel like doing the thing because I'm like, it's waste, I have crappy energy, I don't give the energy that outcome needs. I don't, no matter what, there's a certain level of action, like potential I have to give to get the outcome. If my energy won't let me raise to that, I can't give it. I'll always be in a crappy place. So how do I get that? Well, you get it by taking the energy from, did I give the effort? Not did I reach the outcome? Did I give the effort at the high level? Because if I did, I'm like, you know what? You didn't get there yet, but man, you showed up. Hey, well done. Like, you know, so I go, oh, I feel good. So I'm going to give more of the energy tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And so the idea is like, yeah, you're going to mess up. It's life 100%. And we hear this before this. I'm not the first person to say this, but I think as opposed to saying it's okay to fail and just, do that. It's like, why is it okay? Well, because I identify with the effort. I'm proud of myself for the effort. Therefore, I feel good about myself. I'm going to keep giving up the energy to actually get to the place I want to get day after day.
I love that because, I have so many people that are watching this and listening to it right now. They do the workouts and it's like, why am I not getting the results yet? I came here and I've been working out for a week and I haven't got those results, but like, just celebrate the fact that you're showing up because at the end of the day, just moving your body is going to make you feel better every single day.
Oh, 100% it will. And it's the start of it though. Because think about it, if you can fall in love with the effort, and the actions every day, then what happens is you actually change the game from what. So here's the thing: most people, they don't fall in love with the effort, and so what they do is they hate the journey, and then if they do reach the outcome, they get there and they're in a crappy mood anyway. So it's like, it sucks, So what I look at is like, I got to get people to get to the point of like falling in love with the efforts every day, whether it's good or bad, and you actually find joy in the crap. If you find joy in that, well, then you'll actually do that. And if you actually do that thing, the cool thing is it'll turn out what you want. But if you aren't willing to go through the crap because you hate every day, then it's going to be, I don't know, this is going to be a sucky journey. And then if you get to the destination, you're still going to be in a bad mood. Because like if I take a trip to, I don't know, say I'm going to go to Spain, right? Amazing hotel. If I leave my house and I'm late for the house, the car's late, the trip to the airport sucks, I get in the flight, it got changed, I'm sitting next to a crying baby the whole time, the food got me seasick, it's seasick, but like, food sickness, poisoning, whatever you call it, and I land and then I get to the hotel and it's not ready, I'm in a bad mood. And then if they get the room ready, it's beautiful, I'm still in a bad mood because like I had a horrible trip. It could be an amazing room, bad trip, right? But if the trip was amazing, I left the house on time, I got to the airport with early enough time, I had a great meal, I got upgraded to first class, and I got to take a nap, and I landed, and they picked me up in a nice car and took me to the hotel, and the hotel room wasn't ready. It's cool. I'll wait. I'm gonna wander around the property. I'm in a good mood. Right. So it's the same for life. Everybody just they're hating the journey to just get to the destination. But the problem is you're gonna spend way more time climbing the mountain than being on the peak. So you got to find a way to enjoy climbing the mountain.
And once you get there, it's like, oh, what's next? It's like the journey is actually like the fun part because you get that like moment of excitement once you've accomplished your goal. But if you spend all of the time on that one little moment, it's like a couple of seconds, right? You get your goal and it's like amazing. But and then what? Then you're like, okay, well, now's the next thing. And you're never going to be satisfied because all you're doing is waiting for those few little seconds to give you the best adrenaline boost. Yeah. But really, it's the journey along the way. I totally agree. And I love that story that you shared, perfect like example there of like how your flight is going to be, how that's going to be when you get to the airport. Like, I think that's amazing. So what is...
You think about like, you hate I enjoy a puzzle because I'm doing the puzzle, not simply because like when I get done with the puzzle, like, cool. All right, now what? I want to do a puzzle again because I enjoy the process, enjoy the flow.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true. Like, what an absolutely amazing example of that. So what's coming up for you next? Like, you were telling me you've adapted so much, like as a lot of people had to during COVID. You were on stage speaking and now you've set up in an epic studio at home. Like, what was that like for you to adapt your identity as being someone who was on stage and having that presence to being someone who's behind a camera in a studio more often? Like, how was that for you?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't identify with the guy that was only happy when he's on a stage. It's a big piece of it, right? If I was only happy when I'm on a stage, well, then that's who I am. I've always identified as the guy who's going to make the most of whatever is in life, right? I identify with the effort. So I was like, ooh, I like to give the effort of serving people. I got to find a new way to do that. So I identify with the solving of the problem, right? I've always been that guy. I like puzzles. I want to solve the puzzles. That's who I am. So if you give me a new puzzle to solve, I'm going to have fun solving it. I may put a piece in the wrong way. I may find an issue that popped up I didn't expect. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'm enjoying the process of putting the piece in place. And eventually the whole thing will come together. So when everything went sour in the world, I eventually figured like that, well, I guess my life is riddled with these weird moments that give me strength. I actually got this picture. It's not here yet. I'm going to get on the wall, but the picture frame says, it's a picture of one statement. It says, a smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor. Easy. Actually, I think it really says smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. I think they simplify it. But the reality is like, I like the rough seas. I've learned how to sail in hardship at a young age. So now in life, it's actually oddly enjoyable for me to be out in the ocean, we'll call it, and navigating rough seas. And I'm not special. I just lean in whenever I see things going crazy. I'm not trying to find a way to find joy in the normalcy of just comfort and security. I like the motion of life. I like doing things. And so when everything happened in the world, I was like, ooh, how do I get back in motion? And I think all of us humans, we are better in motion. If you think about it, there's a different sense of connectedness to life when we're doing something. There's magic in motion, creating and doing. And I think some people want to get to the end result and I want to pause. Like, that's no joy in that. There's not a lot of joy in just pausing all day. You got to do stuff, create with your hands, talk to people, motion, right? So for me, when I found myself not in motion, I was like, ooh, I'm not in a plane. I'm not in stages. I'm not talking to people as much. how do I get back in motion? And my motion came with doing virtual stuff. It came with coaching clients and actually building out the coaching model vastly more than it was. I got back in motion. And all I had to do was go, where do I want to be in motion? And then how do I want to do that best? And so it led me to solve the puzzles. If I want to be on stages virtually, what do I have to do to stand out? Well, the only space I have is this screen, that 16:9 box. That's what I got. How do I make that amazing? What comes through that? Well, visual comes through it. Audio comes through it. I'm going to be the best in that. Let's figure out how to make that work. And what do I got to buy? And how do I set it up? And what camera do I have to have? That was my motion. I'm figuring that out now. Then it's like, all right, well, how do I serve people differently? Because I can't look at their faces on this thing. Well, how do I give them a different visual? How do I ask them the right questions? How do I do all that? So I reframe the entire keynotes. Like everything became this new puzzle to solve. And I found joy in it. And when you show up with joy, people want to be around people who have joy. So the more I did that, the more bookings I got, the better life became. I actually made more revenue than I had the years before. Because now I don't have to be on a plane. Like I could book back-to-back speeches. I could book multiple in the same day, right? And that was the bet. There's a beauty in that, but it's only because I hopped in and started doing things. And I'm not special in a sense of anybody can be curious and go in and say, I'm going to find a way to identify with solving the puzzles, to be in motion. And the moment you do that, you might go, hey, that's not me, yo. That's not a character for me. I don't do that. Cool. Wasn't for me either. But the more you do it, the more it becomes who you are. And that's the thing that's a truth about life. Because before, like I was a parent, I was a guy and I'm like, I'm not a parent. But the moment you have a kid and you start changing diapers and giving bottles, like, oh, I'm a dad now. The only thing that changed was me doing the actions, obviously having a kid, right? If I say I wasn't a speaker, because I wasn't a speaker before, I owned gyms and I used to, do my thing and travel and talk about fitness. But when it came to the personal development side and what I do in here, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know if it's who I am. Well, I should probably start doing it. So I started doing it. I did a video a day for 1,333 straight days, 3.65 years, every day, 90 seconds, didn't miss a day. And it was just me doing the action. And the more you feed into something, the more you get a return. Because this is a human truth here. We are investment-based humans. If I make an investment, I want a return. We have a bias there. So if you give money, I want money back. If I give you $1, I want a taco if it's at a spot, right? A taco spot. But in the area of confidence about something, identification of something, it's an investment of energy, effort, and actions. The return is confidence and identity.
Mm-hmm. So true. So powerful. Well, final question I have for you here, and I know that so many of my audience are going to be like, oh, I hope that she asked this, is about the identity when you're in a relationship with somebody else and you feel like your identity is different or shifted because you're with someone. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, how does that, how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, so my ex-wife, who's now my current wife again, that was, we were 16 years old when we got together. We're in the yearbook as the cutest couple to this day. Like I was a homecoming kid. It's all cute and weird. But yeah, so we were together, had a kid, and then, we were kids having a kid. And then we got out of the NFL. We had 2 more kids. So we have 3 kids. And I don't think we knew who we were without each other. I mean, our developmental years of 16 up to like 25, we're just the same kind of people. We didn't know, like, who am I solo? Can I handle this world? Like, and so there was a lot of dynamics in that realm. And what ends up happening is, like, you start to question the identity of who you are in this relationship, the identity of yourself outside of it. Can I handle it? Who am I? Is there something better for me? Is there someone else that could be a good fit for me? All that stuff kind of creeps in. And so I think one of the most important things is when you're in the right relationship, you'll feel more free in it than you do out of a relationship. And what I mean by this is whenever you're out of a relationship, you're single, I feel like we try to conform to the society norms to get into a relationship. Just we want to, like, what do I say? What do I not say on a date? How do I dress in it? All this, we're thinking about all the things. And then what happens, you get into a relationship. And then if it's the right person, you can burp, fart, wear whatever you want. Like, you get to be you, right? And when you get to be expansively you in that relationship and test and try, that's the best relationship you can be in. Like, my wife and I, we could do literally anything around each other at this point, and we get each other. There's no issues. There's no crazy. Like, if she wants to try, she's 37, be 38 in March. She has decided now to pick up track. She does collegiate track because she didn't do it when she was in college. She had our son. So she just got her master's, did her thing. She's now running out here, 16 to 20 years older than some of these kids and smoking these girls, like, doing her thing. Now, if I'd have been the husband that goes, but you're not a track athlete, you haven't been doing that, what do you do? think about what damaged the relationship. She'd find new friends, different friend groups. She'd feel like I'm demeaning her dream. She'd feel small. But I was like, no, I think what you need to do is like, I love you as the human, whatever that human decides to identify as, right? So because I love you, go find out who you want to be. And relationship wise, if you're not with someone who's allowing you to express and expand to who you want to be, you might not be with the right person, because the right person is going to love watching you explore, supporting you explore. Because the cool thing is my relationship is deeper with her because I support this for her. It's more connected. It's more bonded because I'm like, hell yeah, I write her workout programs. I go to her track things like her meets. I don't even know, like it's her own bubble. I don't worry about who she's running track with, where she's going, when she's doing it. If she doesn't want me to go to track meet, I don't even go to them. She's like, there's too much pressure. Like, cool, I won't go if you don't want me to this time. Her thing, right? She has to be in her own bubble. But because of that, it makes us connect deeper because she knows if she wasn't, she'd be single. Shit, like, how am I going to find someone who's going to accept the fact that I run track 3 or 4 days a week and I got these kids and I run this bit, all this stuff. But it's an interesting thing. It's a great question to ask because the identity in the relationship shouldn't be I am the relationship. It should not be that. It should be I am me and the relationship accepts me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know so many people that get into a relationship and they lose their own identity because somebody says, "Why are you doing that?" Or they question your things rather than just being supportive and going for it. So, just as we end this, what's one piece of advice that you give someone to hold on to their identity of being who they really want to be and being a good human being?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's when it comes to your current identity, just know who you see yourself to be now. If you don't know who that is, start sitting down and saying, who am I? Like we have ways we actually gauge to see, like we'll call it who you are. And so what I look at is like, hey, who do you want to be? And if you don't know who that is clearly right now, then you just go the next round and say, okay, well, let me start trying things. There's actually this grid we go through. It's called the ID phase grid. And this grid, it will actually allow you to get to the point of going, look, there's 4 stages. It's, am I searching for my identity and have I locked myself in? It's literally on one side, am I searching? Other side, am I locked in? And if you are not searching for an identity and you are not locked in, you're what I call lost, which means I'm out floating in the world. And it sucks because you're just kind of out floating. Then if you have not searched to see what else is out there, but you've locked in, right? My family says we're all doctors, or I'm in this relationship. Well, you're what's called closed, which means you're closed off. You close off your expansion, your expression, and it kind of sucks because you're like, I just feel closed off to the world and who I am. I didn't even get to see what was out there, but I locked into this so early, like, oh, this sucks. The other side of it is what I call open, which means, look, I'm searching, but I haven't locked in anything yet. I'm figuring myself out, we'll call it. I'm going to go and see what's out. I want to take some trips. I'm going to try these things. I'm going to meet some friends. I'm just to do stuff. I'm open. But there'll be a point in time when you go, look, I've went searching. I know what I like. I'm going to lean into this. And that's what's called found. I found myself. It's really simple, straightforward. Like I've done the searching. So I'm not curious about what else there could be. I've been searching and I like this. This gives me joy. I'm going to lock in and I'm found. But here's the one thing. Some people get to found and they stay in found for 5, 6, 8, 10 years. And they go, oh man, I'm feeling that closed off feeling again. I feel like I haven't searched for much more, but they feel guilty. They go, well, I've already climbed this level. I can't open back up. I can't do that again. Because what if it's degrading to my friends who have, just got this, and people say, oh, you should just be happy with your life. You got it all, but you're not. I go, oh, that's okay. Guess what? It's a cycle between found and open. You can easily be found and doing this thing and go, you know what? While not blowing my life up, I want to go seek new things. I want to see what else is out there. So I go open myself back up. I unlock for a little bit and say, you know what? As opposed to being, I'm the dialed in doctor who's straight laced. I want to go to Burning Man. I want to go take a trip across the country. I want to go try these things. Open back up, right? Mm-hmm. And when you've found that thing again, lock in then and be found again. It's a process. Life's a journey.
Mm-hmm. Open back up. I love that. Thank you so much, Anthony. You're like absolutely incredible. I love this whole concept around identity. Where can everybody find you and what can they do to stay in touch with you?
Easily. You can go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram. You can go to AnthonyTrucks.com. If you want to get my book, you go to IdentityShiftBook.com and they'll find my book there also. It's on this whole concept of identity.
Amazing. Well, we're going to put all of the details for Anthony in our description below. So make sure that you go give him lots of love. Tell him thank you so much. Tell him something that there was a shift that you've listened to and heard from this podcast that you are going to actually apply into your life. So again, thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching at home. And just remember to go write a review on the It Takes Grit podcast, wherever you are watching and listening. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.